Sentient, 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 sentient. Possibly for the last time. Possibly. We've been playing a lot of Sentient. We've been trying to crack open its secrets, unpeel its tasty shell, to find the creamy nougat within. I'm not sure if I'm describing a nut or a fruit or a candy. Maybe all three. It has a bunch of endings, and last time, the chat was looking up how many endings does this thing actually have, and different reviews and different articles about the game. There are not many, but different ones do give you different numbers as to endings. But the chat did find one page that described 12 endings to Sentient, and that was the most that we saw. I took a look at that page, and we have gotten 10 endings so far. That means it leaves only 2 left. And I know how to get them. Now, if you're trying to remember what the 10 endings are, because, yeah, I can understand it can be difficult to keep track, let's go over them in the order that we got them. First ending was Human Error, where the station falls into the sun when we don't do anything for a while, and then it just falls in. Ending 2 was the red button. We push the button that says don't touch on it, and then the station falls into the sun. Ending 3 was stealing the senator's yacht. We were very smug about that, and we felt very good as we let everyone to die on the station. That was our third ending. Fourth was Giacomo. We saved Giacomo from his trial, whatever it was he was doing that was threatening his life, and then he ended up navigating the station away from the sun. Ending 5 was the one where we teach Susie Braille, and then Susie decodes the alien message and uses that information to fly away from the sun, saving everyone. Ending 6 was the Digital Messiah, where we fly into the sun and we burn up, and then we end up in a grassy field where there is a butler who gives us a flower and a vase. That's ending 6. Ending 7, we give Garelick the senator's yacht beacon. He trades the yacht beacon with the senator for a key that allows us to detach a deck from the space station, and we save ourselves and some of the engineers, but we leave most of the people on the station to die, as detaching the section causes the rest of the station to fall into the sun. That's ending 7. Ending 8, we got last time, where Susie gave us a countdown, and then we just fell into the sun, and then there were like a lot of clocks on the text screen. I was confused about how that was different from the Human Error ending, because it seemed like kind of the same thing. I figured out why it's different, though, and I'll explain that. Ending 9 was Microwave. We put batteries in the microwave, and then we blew up the station. Thank you to Pillows for mentioning that to me. I would never have stumbled upon that on my own. And then ending 10 was Mind Lift, where after being told he's the Digital Messiah and that he must sacrifice himself in the sun, Garrett Shirova decides to rules lawyer his way out of that and says, what if I just copied my mind and put that in the sun? That way I wouldn't have to do it. And Susie says, sure, okay. And then they do that. So that was the 10th ending. We have 2 more to go. And as far as Human Error and the Time Runs Out endings, I think the difference between those is that Human Error is when the station falls into the sun due to something someone did. So when we begin the game, eventually, if we don't do anything, Garelick is going to try to correct the station's course himself. He will fail, and then the station will fall into the sun because of what he did. We can stop him from doing that by giving him Azira's bogus correction plan, and we buy ourselves some time by doing that. However, Garelick will eventually want to implement the plan, and if he does, once again we fall into the sun because of Human Error. And then we can stop him from doing that by getting Azira arrested, getting him to tell us the plan is bogus, and then telling Garelick that the plan is bogus. And if we do that, Garelick will stop trying to help. He will stop trying to solve the problem. But then you have those engineers who come to us and say, hey, get us Kenyans, we'll put them in a missile and shoot it at a solar flare. We tried that, and it failed, and we fell into the sun again, Human Error. So if we don't do that, at that point, I think that we avoid Human Error. But there is still a time limit before the station's orbit naturally declines, and then we fall into the sun. Not because of human action, but because of human inaction, because no one did anything. And that was the time runs out ending that we got with the clocks on the screen and Susie giving us a death countdown. So it's very similar, but it's like a little bit different. And those count as different endings, I guess. I just wanted to make that clear because I wasn't sure what the difference was last time. Wasn't sure about it. What I am sure, what we're doing tonight, is we are getting endings 11 and 12. And that might be everything that there is. We're going to load a game. This is the game where we have the evidence recording. And you know what we do with it is we give it to the senator. And the senator has Jarrell and Dr. Lovey arrested and makes us the captain for reasons. However, there's, other things we could do with this evidence recording. We actually did it last time. I gave it to Jarrell, and he, took it from us and arrested us. I loaded the game at that point. It turns out you can keep playing. I don't know if you can actually get an ending after that, but you can keep playing. I mean, get a good ending. You can get an ending, and that's what we're doing now. We're going to find Jarrell, let him know, hey, we know your secret, and see what he has to say about that. Let's see. I have the evidence recording. Oh, by the way, something that someone mentioned in the chat, but I did find this when I was poking around, is that after we get security access, we can see a lot more information about everyone on the station. So, if we want to look up, Dr. Lovey, and we could see, her psychological profile, and we can see that she's exhibiting rational behavior, extremes of euphoria and depression, and reported by political officers. It mentions her family. It mentions the political officer's comments. She is talented, humanistic approach to medicine, but let's see. There's evidence she's uncomfortable working with her husband as well as with Chief Jarrell. And wondering, why is that? Well, it's because of, the affair. And you might wonder, who's writing this? And it's a political officer. What's a political officer? A highly trained, highly trusted individual whose mission is to ensure the uncompromised continuance of the new hegemony. Political officers are placed covertly in government facilities and send regular reports to their superiors, noting seditious activity and information deemed useful to the hegemony. Occasionally, political officers are called upon to perform routine tasks in the service of the collective. So, who is the political officer who wrote this comment? Well, we don't know, but we can look at let's see, we can look at base visitors. We can look at the senator, and he has a file, and the political officer is making comments. He says there's been no contact between this political officer and the Grand Senator, as he is unaware of my identity per rules. The senator's stated mission is to inspect the Icarus Sun Station for the Council on Alternative Resources. So the political officer is someone on the station. It's just that we don't know who it is. According to the rules, the political officer must not be known. Not even the senator knows who that is. So I don't know who it is. I kind of doubt that we will find out who it is. And even if we go to, here's Jin. What do you think about Jin? I like how he's described. The bodyguard is a threat intervention specialist. I like that term. It seems quite obvious to this political officer that Jin's loyalty to the senator will only last as long as his oath. Yes, and we did learn from something else in here that the Bloodbound are bound by their oath to serve the senators. So that's Jin. Not much on him, but I mean, the engineers are being arrested at this point. That happened last time. Jarrell is arresting the engineers for some reason. We can even look up, minor characters. Was it Tan who gave us the drawing of the rabbit? I forget if he was, but let's see. Even he has a psychological profile, and his enormous frame could have serious destructive power if he were to become violent. And he says, all crew members in the engineering section are assumed to be terrorist sympathizers, as well as labor solidarity accomplices. Union members, terrorists, a lot of them. A political officer does comment on him. He's dangerous. He will obey any person giving him an order. Should that person be an enemy of the collective, the effect could be negative. He is heavily watched. So even the minor characters have these profiles by the political operative. Here's Aztec. He's the one who tells us about the file, Jarrell's file. He has a power/subservience complex that depends upon the domination of the weaker sex. While this has only manifested itself as the simple propositioning of females, it could lead to a damaging episode. Oh, it's Aztec. Has history of sexual harassment, it sounds like. Let's see, terrorist sympathizer, labor, Aztec has access to the upper decks of the Icarus. His status is automatically watch. Improper address to superior officer. Aztec refer to chief medical officer as Finchy, reported by Dr. Lovey. We could just see details on everyone on the station. Kamek, he's the one who knows that we're the digital messiah. He's a meek young man, lacks self-esteem, intensely loyal to his superior officer, no group affiliations. I mean, that's not true because Kamek is in on the digital messiah plan. So the political operative doesn't know about that. Men such as Kamek are the backbone of the new hegemony. They take orders well, ask you questions, work diligently for long hours, excellent source of information, quiet demeanor causes others to forget his presence and speak freely. So no clues as to Kamek's importance in the file. But I thought that was interesting. You can see so much, you can see a lot of detail on all these characters, even the characters who don't really do anything. I'm going to start walking around. Let's put on some music. Let's put on some soundtrack. Some Sentient soundtrack. All right. Let's go find Jarrell and let him know what we have. Hold on. Hey, Jerk Como, how you doing? Well, let's just stand in the teleporter and have a chat. Do you know where Jarrell is? Engineering 2. I'll go take a look. Oh, how are you doing? I mean, who can say who's responsible? No one could really say who's responsible for the spying. By the way, I have an evidence recording. I own your evidence recording. I'm bobbing and weaving. Are you going to shoot me? Oh, there you go. I was wondering if he's going to shoot me. Or if were we going to start making out? Because we were getting pretty close. All right, imprisoned again. And my thing is gone. My evidence recording. And my door is locked. Oh, no, my door just opened up. Wait, I walked through the door. Was that door open? Did I clip through the door? How did I get through that door? Oh well, let's go bother Jarrell again. Jarrell thinks he can imprison me. I'll show him. Hey, where is Jarrell located? Top research, thank you. Thinks he can shoot me and put me in a cell. I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. 4th. Hey, you. I'm on research 1, so let me give me the straight dope on where Jarrell is. Main science. Now let me just remind myself where. Room. Scientific main science. Okay, ring 1, octant 6. That's this way. Hey, Jarrell. Hey! What? Yeah, me! I mean, I think that Jarrell was probably sorry he came here, like, from the beginning. Hey, give me that, where is it? Yeah, that evidence recording. It's my evidence recording. You absolutely have one. What? Who are you talking to? Oh, people talking in there. So many people are talking right now. Hey, you, I'm gonna insult you so bad. Zim off, Mr. Badge Polisher. It's a controller. I mean, no reason to be using a joystick with this game, sir. I have more insults to tell you. Hold on. There's something that makes it funnier about there not being punctuation. I mean, that is what we end up doing. Just abandon the rest of your life. I do like that we're having basically a Twitter fight with Jarrell right here. There are a lot of insults. We might be repeating now. Oh no, that's new. Well, I don't know what a womp is. I'm not sure if I'm being insulted. How about if I charm you? Especially the one you were having an affair with when you murdered the captain. So, what are you doing? Yeah, I guess we kind of lost track on what this conversation was about. What's happening? Everyone's at each other's throats like you and me right now. Oh yeah, I guess I could change my expression. I could like get a big smile on my face. I still don't know if that changes anything. I've never had to change my expression once. Well, oh, okay. Here we're swinging upside down again. We've been here once before. Oh yeah, that's the one that's gonna drop us in the sun. Like, basically every correction attempt does that. Yeah, 90%. That's a high percent. The music makes dying in the sun seem so triumphant. Right, so this is the 11th ending. Regret, the bane of a myriad lost souls, the Kamina, book 27, verse 1. So we can see, like, there's a picture of Jarrell's face there, full of regret, as the station explodes. So I guess the idea of this ending is that Jarrell, out of trying to cover up his crimes, he imprisons us, the only person who can save the station, and so I guess that's why this ending is different, because if only Jarrell had been selfless and turned himself in and faced up to his crimes, then we could have saved the station. Everyone is dead because of him. That's what. So that's the 11th ending, the regret ending, I guess, even though it basically just amounts to falling in the sun again. Just, that's what it amounts to. We have a 12th ending to get, but that 11th ending is kind of fun, just because you just agitate Jarrell until he shoots you again, and then he strings you up, and then we run out of time. So, okay. The 12th ending. How do we get that? We're going to start a game. Some people suggested, hey, you know how you save that engineer at the beginning? Can you not do that? And turns out, yeah. You can not do that. We'll try not doing that. Actually, one thing I want to see is, let's watch the opening conversation between Jarrell and the senator again. Now that we know who killed the captain, let's watch this opening conversation again. Oh, right, radiation sickness. Remember this guy? Like, something really happened to him, but it's not like the radiation sickness really comes into play during the game.
He's stabilizing. This is the worst one we've seen. Kamek, I'm late for an important meeting. If he regains consciousness, contact me immediately.
Yes, Doctor. The medical relief team were due over an hour ago. Any idea where they are, Doctor?
Yeah, that's us. We're the medical relief team. We're on our way. By team, I wonder if they mean... I mean, yeah, that's true. We do see some other people on that ship, and Kamek did say there were 7 people, I think, on the ship. So it wasn't just us. It wasn't just Garrett Sharova. There were supposed to be more people arriving at the station as the medical backup team. It's just that we're the only one who survived because we're not human. Oh, so remember, it's over 120 degrees on that station.
Stop and rest the moment you feel yourself growing weak. Second, water is a rare...
Don't waste water.
Try not
We see water getting wasted.
water wasters will be sent before a tribunal.
We never see the water waster tribunal.
In case of emergency, return to your quarters.
We were never assigned quarters.
To advise,
Sharova never actually has a room.
don't move around the station while the emergency klaxon is sounding.
We do that all the time.
Mistaken for an intruder. Finally, remember Icarus is a primary security zone. Security personnel are authorized to liquidate anyone threatening the station.
I mean, they just kind of stun us when they suspect us. They haven't actually liquidated us. Yeah, our dearest wife, who maybe doesn't exist? Alright, here's the conversation.
I do hope this is important, Jor-El.
I don't think you'll be disappointed, Senator.
Chief Jor-El, Science Section reports another burst of unusual activity in the sun.
Any idea what's causing it?
No, sir, but it's the largest fluctuation we've seen.
All right, let me know if there are any developments. The incoming medical shuttle just finished beaming over our inbound communiques. Data Central have reason to suspect that Shatterjack has infiltrated this station. They believe that you are his likely target.
What? The political assassin?
You've heard of him.
Of course I have. He murders 27 government officials, and you fools let him on board this station. As head of security, I hold you personally responsible.
It gets worse, Senator. What's Captain Lovey told you about the recent decrease in mining efficiency?
He told me it was because of the plague outbreak. The emergency medical team should sort that out when they arrive.
It's not the plague. Our orbit has been steadily declining for the past 96 hours. We've had to divert energy from mining to the thrusters, and that's brought us another 72 hours before we slide into the sun. We're trying to solve the problem, but it's not easy. Data Central are aware, but I'm warning you now in case you want to leave the station.
I have to stay here.
Of course, the senator doesn't know why they're sliding into the sun. He knew the whole time. And he can just call his yacht anytime he wants to leave. I don't think Jor-El knows. Pretty sure Jor-El does not know. But the senator knows, and Azura knows. So a huge solar flare came up just as we were entering, and by coincidence, hit the ship, which then caused it to fly into the dock, and then the ship exploded in the dock.
Chief, that incoming shuttle didn't make it.
Condition 0. No one is to go near the top disk without my authorization. Get a report from engineering and let's get a search organized. Full radiation protection. I just remembered. The captain was down on the shuttle deck.
Oh, he just remembered that.
Senator, you should return to your quarters.
I expect to continue this conversation as soon as possible, Jor-El.
Love that animation.
Dr. Lovey, I need your help. Meet me in Sector C in 5 minutes. I can't explain right now. Just be there.
He calls Dr. Lovey, saying he needs her help in 5 minutes. What are they doing? They're dragging the captain's corpse to the shuttle deck to pretend that that's how he died in the deck. But he was already dead at that point when Jarrell says, "I just remembered." He was on the shuttle deck. He seized the opportunity to cover up the murder. Radiation's going up. We don't care. We're a robot. What does radiation matter to a robot? And we leave behind the photo of the wife. Zoom in on that. A life that never existed, maybe. All right. We're just not going to do anything. You remember how this goes. We use the first aid kit on the engineer, and then we turn on the shields, and then we get out of here. Or we stay behind while the engineer saves himself. And then we wake up in sickbay. This time we're just not going to do anything. We're just going to hang out. And that's just gonna we're gonna hear that a lot. So how about we just mute the game, and how about maybe we turn on some of those sweet Sentient soundtrack tunes. So we're just gonna look at this guy. Look around. Nothing really to do, I guess. It says main door sealed, emergency access. Not that we care about that. I have this first aid kit. I could use it. Can I examine him? I don't think I can examine him. Hello. I'm a medic. Hello. What's happening? No, I guess they wouldn't. If only there was some way to help him out. What are you doing? What do you think I should do now? See, I don't think I have any special statements right now. Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't know if he's anything to say besides tell us that he needs help. Let me tell you about where I come from. I met my wife Gianna at university. Yeah, I think this is all he's going to say. Yeah, can you believe how hot it is? You're really impressing me. You have real charisma. Well, I don't think he's saying anything different. Well, Susie said it was only going to be about a minute before they isolated this place. We could, examine the steam. There we go, we're isolated. Deactivate those resources, Susie. Yeah, deactivate that power. The lighting, right? Who needs it? Yep, don't need the comms. There you go. We're finally getting around to disengaging that life support. Looks like a steam spray. And of course, that is going to take us into the hedge maze. As usual. So I don't think that, I don't believe there's anything else in the hedge maze. I've never found anything else in here. So I don't think there are any secrets here. All we can do is find mom wife in the middle.
Gian, it's me. Gian, aren't you my wife?
No,
Who are you?
Gian. Sometimes.
Who are you?
Come on, Garrett. Get with the program.
Who are you?
Who am I? Silly question. Who are you, Garrett?
What is this place?
Who is this place?
That's still maybe the best line in the game.
Tell you. But if you find me again, I'll give you a clue.
Conversation still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But now, things are going to be a little bit different and a little bit angrier. Now it's Chief Jarrell here instead of Kamek. He has a point. We are supposed to be a medic, and we did just let that engineer die, even though we have a first aid kit on us. He didn't help him at all. We certainly haven't acted like a medic. Security looks at us sternly, waiting for our response. We are acting suspiciously. I can't really blame them for that. What sort of investigations? Well, Jarrell's not going to give us a choice in the matter. Zap. So we're not being helped, as before. Rather, we're being taken captive. And now I can't move. And of course, we know Azura is doing his experiments, and he is very happy that he has a new subject. Fortunately, we can survive critical radiation. And we do love science. So, what experiments does Azura have in mind? Yeah, it's only a mining station. What are these mind experiments happening? Alright, here's the Tumble maze. So, we got arrows. We have yellow arrows, we have blue arrows, we have green arrows, we have red arrows. We, like, spin all weird here. We have to choose a color arrow to follow. Let's follow red. A lot of dead ends. But if we follow a color, then maybe we might find something. Blue is also pointing this way. Just because two different colors point somewhere doesn't mean you shouldn't follow. Yellow's pointing here, but I actually just want to follow red. It is kind of weird to control this, because, like, forward works as you think forward would work, but then right and left make you kind of go up and down at the same time. Hence, it is the Tumble maze. I think we're, following red. It's getting all red now. So there's like a floating head in here. We reach it at the end of the red arrows. Doesn't say any. He can't talk to it. I think this is the captain's face. I'm not positive about that, but I think it is. But unlike NPCs, I can try to talk to it and nothing happens, and I can't observe it. It's just a floating head in the maze. We have a time limit before they pull us out of the Tumble maze. Apparently we failed the Tumble maze. Whatever it was we're supposed to do, we did it wrong. I think we can just skip... Yeah, there we go. Let's follow green. I don't think we can actually... Yeah, I'm pressing the button to observe items and nothing's happening. Well, this seems like a dead end. Green was pointing at this. Let's look around and see if we can find more green. Get in here. Here's some blue. Blue is pointing this way. Is that some green down there? I see some green on the other side of this. I think this is a dead end, though. Green is pointing this way. There are not as many greens as the other arrows. Right now we're just getting a lot of yellow. There are two ways to go here? Yeah, there's more green that way. We could go this way. More green. There's a lot of green here. However, I think this might be a dead end. It's hard to say. Well, this is, but we can keep going this way. And this does seem to be an actual dead end. Does not seem to be anything here. Azure is upset. Just won't do. He's going to give us one more chance at this. You think he would switch up the maze, but no, it's like the same maze every time. Actually, I also don't think it's the same as the hedge maze. I was wondering if it was the same layout as hedge maze. I don't think it is. So we've tried red and green. Let's try blue this time. See if we can find anything with blue arrows. Well, blue is saying point this way. Don't go into the dead end. But there's no blue in my line of sight right now. I saw some blue over here. So, well, blue is pointing this way. But there are more yellow and red arrows than anything else, it seems. Some yellow and green. Some red this way. We already reached the end of red, but let's see if we can find any blue. More red. Nothing that way. Now there's the head. There that is again. It's just floating there. The head, honestly, is quite creepy. It is weird to look at. You can just see it through the walls here. And this is another dead end, but we can, like, if we're looking at it, looking around, looking at the environment, you're like, oh, there's just like a floating head over there, right? I can't see it now for some reason. It was visible, but I don't see it now. Can I, is this like, oh, yeah, I can go this way. Oh, yeah, there he is. Now, there was like a tunnel right there, but it was hard to see. It's kind of hard to see a lot that's in this. Well, we ran out of time. There doesn't seem to be much of blue. Blue doesn't seem to be leading us to a whole lot. So we end up here with the senator. Yeah, Shatterjack's murdered what? What did he say? 23 senators? It's a lot. And he just shoots us for good measure. We're already helpless. So they were convinced that we were Shatterjack. I mean, it's more like we were the easiest one to think was Shatterjack. We acted very strangely. And since we weren't needed as a research subject, I guess, we failed at the Tumble maze. They turned us over to the senator, who was convinced that we were Shatterjack, and left with us as captive. In an age where we should be on the verge of our greatest triumphs, we find ourselves facing our greatest fears, mistrust in the hegemony. Tamarin, Aiden, Edgel, score 16. So that is the 12th ending. And as far as I know, we've gotten all of them now. Like, I have not seen a reference to any other endings. And, you know, the weird thing about Sentient is that just because we've seen the endings, we've seen so much content, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's all of the content. Because, you know, maybe we could actually get out of the Tumble maze. What would happen then? If such a thing could be done. I think that we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to give the old Tumble maze maybe one more shot. What did Azura actually want us to do in that? Be coming back with some more tumbling and bumbling, more Sentient as we finish it up, and I guess probably say goodbye. See you in a few minutes. All right, we're back here. I had saved a game when we were right here, so we could just head right back into the Tumble maze. Because there's one, we followed red, we found that the captain's head, and I don't know, we can't interact with it. You'd think it's important, you'd think it's something you'd be able to do something with, but can't really do anything with it. The green arrows seem to lead to dead ends. The blue arrows they're very rare, and they don't seem to specifically lead to anyone. But there is one color that we haven't done yet. We have not done yellow. So let's head back into the Tumble Maze again and follow the yellow. And hopefully we can follow them to their end before we reach the time limit, because the time limit does seem to be pretty tight. So let's see if we can beat the time. When I saw this cutscene, I thought, and saw the picture of the maze, I thought, is Azura simulating the hedge maze? I thought that's what it was going for, but again, I don't think the layout of the Tumble Maze is similar to the hedge maze. I don't think there's really anything there. But I had like some idea of maybe Azura is somehow aware of the hedge maze in the sun, and he's trying to make a virtual version of that. But I don't think that's what it is. Anyway, back into the Tumble Maze we go. Let's follow yellow, and let's try to do it as fast as we can, so I can beat this time limit. Yellow, yellow, yellow. Well, one thing I can say is that when we are in the hedge maze, we do follow those yellow posts. So maybe that's one kind of a hint of which color that we should follow. Since the walls are kind of translucent, it can be difficult to tell if the arrows you're seeing are actually in the corridor that you're in at the moment. I don't really know how this is a test of intelligence, though. Like that one guy said when we failed that we're not as smart as Azura thought we were. I mean, if you just left us in here forever, clearly we would eventually get to the end of the yellows. There are a lot of yellows. Never mind the blue. The blue's telling us to go back. Ignore the blue. Here's the exit. And we got loose from our bonds. We can try to leave. The door's locked, though. Look around. I'm sure we've been in this room, but there was never anything we could do in here. Yep, everything in this room is designed to use radiation. Well, there is like a little compartment back here. Maybe try to hide in here. Any machines? Like this. There's this. I think I just irradiated myself. Just gave myself a big old dose. I mean, that should be fine. We know that radiation doesn't really do anything to us. Here comes someone. I don't think we hid very well. I'm out of here! I am not out of here. I wonder if we could turn that on if someone was in there and irradiate them. Anyway, now we're back in the sickbay, like the normal beginning. You have the resilience of a Slistachiar. Yeah, that engineer died. So I guess that they found our pass, so they identified me as Shirova, and the research staff is glad that I'm here to assist them. So I passed the Tumble Maze, I get to live and not be arrested. So this seems to start off the same way that the game normally starts off. Dr. Lovey's going to come by and give me a pass. So that engineer's not there, of course. He's dead. So is there anything different because we did that? There's a couple things. One, we still have our first aid kit. We didn't use it on the engineer. So could we use this somewhere else in the game? Is there someone else that might benefit from our first aid kit? I don't know. I do know that we have it, so we can get like further in the game while still holding it. Maybe it could be used on someone? I don't know the answer to that. We have seen some people who are, not doing so well, who are in bed, and maybe someone could use this. Maybe we could heal someone and they could help us out. Possibly. The thing about Sentient is you don't know if that could do something. Like, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, maybe it could have and they just never got around to putting that content in the game. But there's actually one other difference. And it might be a more interesting difference. However, I do need someone to come around. Oh, I didn't put the shields up. We're getting battered. Someone's coming. I hear someone. I heard someone walking around. I do not see someone now. So I don't know if not turning the shields on... We get a different message because the shields weren't turned on. I don't know if that would make things any more difficult as we progress through the game. But like I said, there is one other thing that's worth noticing, and it might be a bit more interesting, is that we don't have any new questions we can ask. We do have a new statement we can say. Assassin on ship. Wonderfully misspelled. However, the generic response does seem to be, that's a pretty provocative rumor. Yeah, I'm back. Hey, do you want to know that there's an assassin on ship? Well, he seems upset about it. Hey, Dr. Lovey. I'm Sharova. I'll be sure not to get those reports. It didn't seem like they did anything. Do you want to know there's an assassin on ship? I don't want to tell you. I want to tell you... No. He already heard. I want to tell you about it. What do you think? Please, Doctor. I know you're busy. What do you think about the assassin on ship? Yeah, it's a provocative rumor. So, even though we have gotten all the endings of Sentient, as far as we know, even though we've been playing Sentient for so long, and we've gotten so much, even now, at the end, Sentient still tells us some things that might indicate that maybe there's more. Things that maybe grab our attention and grasp the imagination, such as failing to save the engineer at the beginning, and doing that whole thing with the Tumble maze, allows us to start the game with a brand new special statement that we can't get, apparently, in any other way. And that is, we can tell people that there's an assassin on the ship. Does that lead to anything? Can we tell anyone who might care about that? Would anyone have anything special to say? Oh, this is the lab I was in when I was being experimented on. Hello. There's assassin on ship. Yeah, it's pretty provocative. However, I don't know the answer to whether or not this does anything. Maybe it does something, or maybe no one actually responds to it. Again, it's hard to say. So, maybe if one was so inclined, they could continue playing this game until they eventually find someone who actually has some reaction to being told that there is an assassin on board, and maybe that might unlock a new path. Possibly make it possible to reach a new ending. Maybe something involving Shatterjack could actually occur. Would it? I don't know. Hey, Azura. Hey, what's going on? I survived your experiments. There's an assassin on ship. He thinks that's provocative. I also like he doesn't actually acknowledge that he was performing experiments on me. What are you doing? He's running the science section. So, I guess if one wanted, like I said, you could just play through the entire game again, asking everyone about the assassin, and maybe someone would eventually respond to it. But I don't know who or what. Or maybe the same goes for the first aid kit. Someone mentioned that I should... Well, I can load up a save game and look at that. That's true. We do need to get the access. What if I go to Garlic and tell him about the assassin? Maybe he would want to know about it. Oh, I can't go there now. I guess I don't have access to it yet. But since I do not know, and I suspect that there is no Shatterjack in this game, how about I just use the game's lore to try to come up with who Shatterjack might be? Because there's a lot of lore. There's a lot of information that we can look up. There's, as you saw on the Susie screen, a lot of backstory, and maybe you can use that to put things together. Okay, so how about this? How's this theory? At the beginning of the game, when Jarrell is talking to the senator, he says, "We've been told that Shatterjack is on board." The reason he says this is because Jarrell has just murdered the captain. Jarrell is trying to think of an excuse for how he's going to cover this up. So he's thinking about Shatterjack, and maybe he's going to say, "Oh no, the captain's dead. It must be that political assassin." And, of course, who else would do it, right? This is before we crash into the station. When we do, Jarrell then takes the opportunity to have him and the doctor drag the captain's body into the deck and leave his body there, getting away with the murder because, hey, oh no, the captain died in the crash. How unfortunate. He doesn't need Shatterjack anymore. He doesn't really need that excuse anymore. But he's already said it. So he arrests us for being Shatterjack. Even though he knows there's no Shatterjack on board, he has to do it because he's already told the senator. So there's no Shatterjack on the station. But we do know that there is a Shatterjack because, well, this name is known. The senator knows it. The senator said that Shatterjack has killed 20-something other senators. He's a huge political assassin. So, if Shatterjack is not on the station, who is this person? And I think that if we look at the lore, we might be able to come up with a theory for that. So, Jin is his bodyguard. Now, if we look up the information about Jin, we can find out that he is a member of a race, a people, referred to as the Bloodbound, and they are bound by their oaths. And, hello, do you want to know about an assassin? It's pretty provocative. They're bound by their oaths. I'll bear it in mind. So, there was a line at some point that the senator said to me. It was something to the effect that the Bloodbound are required to serve the senators, even if they might not like them. And there is a mention in Jin's file that we saw that said that Jin's loyalty to the senator goes as far as his vow, mentioning that he doesn't have any personal loyalty to the senator. He just does what he does because he's required to because of his vow. So, this is apparently the case with a number of Jin's people. Jin is not the only one who serves a senator. There are many Bloodbound who serve the senators as their bodyguards. So, how about this theory? How about Shatterjack is not one person? What we call Shatterjack is actually the Bloodbound exercising political power by murdering senators that they disagree with, and no one would suspect them because, hey, they are honor-bound to be these bodyguards. No one would suspect that they're murdering the senators. But the Bloodbound are affecting the flow of power and affecting the way that the government works by killing off the senators that they don't like. But if they're doing that, they need to have a scapegoat. They need to have someone who can be blamed. So they come up with this mythological super assassin figure called Shatterjack. No one's seen Shatterjack. No one knows who this person is. It's just that this person has somehow been able to murder 20-something senators, which seems impossible because they are guarded by the Bloodbound. I mean, how could someone possibly get away with that? They couldn't, right? Hello, look at all these people. Hey, do you care about the assassin? It's provocative. Let's hang out in the bathroom with these bathroom friends. So, there is no Shatterjack. There never was. It's just a legendary made-up figure by the Bloodbound to explain how these senators are being murdered, to cover up the Bloodbound's murders, which they are doing to exercise their own power. They have no political power. They are basically slaves to the senators, so this is the way they affect change in the galactic government. And that is why there is no Shatterjack in this game. That's my own theory, which I made up by reading the lore in the Suzy screen. So I think that it's as feasible as anything else. One more thing before we go. Someone did say I should read about the insect war after we get full access to the Suzy screen, and I have a save game right here where we have full access. Let's see. Oh, got some explosions. So at this point, I should have access to everything. Someone said I should look up the insect war now that I have that access. Since no sightings were ever made to the aliens themselves, the Ministry of Expression chose to refer to them as insects, hoping that the Imperial citizens' natural aversion would assuage any negative feelings regarding widespread fighting. And this is the only entry. I forget if this is any different than what we already saw. Can I see anything about the Death's Head missiles? Well, we should look at I think I can find that through Exodus. Death's Head missile is not linkable here, unfortunately. Right, the Slistachiar. That's right. Those are the insects. That's correct. I thought Death's Head missiles were linkable, but it doesn't seem like it. I actually don't remember if this is any different from the previous text that we had read about this whole thing. I guess this one talks about how the insect war started. The border skirmishes were a series of naval engagements which led to the Insect War, attempting to protect Imperial citizens from Slistac Yar encroachment. Vice Admiral Yernan elected to blockade all navigation lanes to Imperial space. The insects chose to run the blockade in an attempt to gain a foothold in Terendian systems. In truth, there was no blockade. Rather, Yernan set a trap in order to capture Slistac Yar bark and analyze its technology. Unfortunately, her trap failed and her fleet was destroyed. This defeat was used by the Ministry of Expression to stir the populace to accept the Slistac Yar as a serious threat to the Imperium. It also marked the first usage of the term insect in reference to the Slistac Yar. So this is saying how the war was actually started, and the people were lied to encourage them to support the war. It is funny about how much information there is about stuff that never comes up. Just never comes up. Oh yeah, actually, we can read Garrelix. Read about Garrelix's full file here. Let me look that up. No, actually, I want command section. Garrelix's devil-may-care / Joker attitude is facade aimed at diffusing potential hostile situations. He's developed this mask over the course of his long career in several hotspots in the Protectorates. Underneath this disrespectful exterior is a complex mind, serious and loyal to his men. He's part of the Confederated Corps of Engineers, disbanded. He's suspected to be part of the Confederated Corps of Engineers, although subsumed by the new hegemony superstructure. It's still believed that this group maintains contact for political labor reasons. Internal security level 3, confidential, need to know. He has no family. He left the planet just before it was devastated. He has some criminal conduct charges, drunken and disorderly conduct. The political officer says, with almost no advanced education, it's a wonder that Garrelix has progressed as far as he has. However, it's quite clear that the man has both brains and experience, as well as a natural affinity for the workings of complex machines. He is fiercely protective of his charges, however, and during his stay on Deberic, Garrelix went so far as to threaten a superior officer with physical violence for cutting back rations to Garrelix's men. This, coupled with Garrelix's affiliation with the shadowy Confederated Corps of Engineers, makes him a liability. Status: terminate. So Garrelix has been targeted for termination. Of course, that doesn't actually happen during the course of the game. What about Azura? Dr. Azura exhibits signs of an obsessive-compulsive. His entire life has been in pursuit of a path to the level of social elite, or as he puts it, scientific aristocracy. Azura has invested a great deal of himself in the Icarus project and could prove unstable if the project fails. Let's see... Oh. He's level 4, secret, as far as group affiliations. He's orphaned at birth, no known relations. Almanazar is unparalleled in the world of science. You know, just science in general. His vision and dedication to duty may one day earn him the challenges of a senatorial seat. If the Icarus Sun Station proves to be all he claims, his future is assured. PO orders state that I am required to aid him in any way I can, status none. So the political operative does need to aid him, just anything that he needs. What about I think we've looked at everyone else except the captain himself. He displays aggressive and paranoid behavior. Since his stay at Borstal, Luvi has become compulsively suspicious of conspiracy to commit mutiny, going so far as to wear a sidearm at all times. He's also irrational regarding his spouse, Dr. Dania Luvi, suspecting her of adulterous behaviors that are, as yet, unwarranted. No children. Luvi has exhibited signs of stress lately in regard to his relationship with his wife. Status: light observe. There's, again, as much information as there is in this thing, we can read just a lot more about everyone once we actually get security status, which was after we told Susie, sure enough. And then, like, we get a lot more stuff. But even though we got a lot more stuff, it's like I said, there still might be more stuff. I don't know. I mean, who can say if there is anything else in this? Can telling people about the assassin actually lead to anything? I don't know. I mean, as far as we know, we've seen all the endings. All of the guides we've seen have had different numbers of endings, and the most endings that we have seen have had 12 endings. That sentence doesn't make sense. We know of 12 endings, and we have seen them all at this point. So, I don't know if there's anything else. There might not be any other CG cutscenes. And if there aren't, that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't more endings, just because we've seen all the CG cutscenes. There still could be more outcomes. We don't know. It just seems like we've spent so much time playing the game and poking around at it, and now finding out that, hey, if you just failed the beginning with the engineer, and then you did the tumble maze and succeeded at that, well, now you have a brand new piece of dialogue that you can tell people about that you were not able to have before. And possibly someone might respond to that. And possibly maybe there is a plot line that goes from that. I don't know. What I do know is that we've gotten all of the endings that are known about. And I said that at some point... I said that we wouldn't really know if we're done with Sentient until we feel like we're done with Sentient. Because how can you really know if you are? There's so many endings and so much optional content, optional dialogue. It's hard to say when you're done. But I think I'm done. I think that we've gotten all of the endings that we know about. And when I was playing this, some people asked me why I didn't want to use a guide for the game. And to me, the reason is that the interesting thing of this game is not really the endings themselves. But to me, the interesting thing about this game is trying to find out how was someone actually supposed to play this game? Like, what were you supposed to do? When you first start the game, it just seems completely impenetrable. It just seems completely opaque and completely unfriendly. And sure, you could, like, look up a guide and find out the steps you need to take to get to an ending. Like, go to this room, talk to this person. Go to this room, pick up this item. Go to this room and talk to this person and use this item. But it doesn't really tell you how it is that you're actually supposed to figure all that out. How did the developers actually intend for you to do that? Obviously, they didn't intend for you to use a guide. Some hard games were meant for you to use a guide, like old Sierra adventure games. You remember that some of them were made with the intention that you had to buy the hint book, but as far as I know, there isn't a hint book for Sentient. I'm not aware of one anyway. So I guess they really did intend for you to just keep playing this repeatedly until you slowly made progress and slowly figured out how the station worked and where everything was and who the people were and how to read the signage? Remember this? Remember the first time we saw this? This nonsense right here. Remember the first time we saw that? And it's like, okay, that's where you are. Figure it out. What, you can't figure out the numbers that are on the walls everywhere? So to me, the more interesting thing about this game is trying to work out how you're actually supposed to play it to begin with, and how you were actually supposed to work out what it is that you were supposed to do. They give you a lot of freedom. They give you too much freedom. They let you walk around the station without really too much direction on what it is you should or could do. And then, of course, there's the dialogue system, in which they give you so many options to assemble sentences, and like 90% of that is not needed. So little of those options are actually needed to talk to people and do things. But they give you so much of it, and you have so much freedom that you're not sure how you're supposed to use this and how you're supposed to construct these sentences and what is even relevant to anyone you're talking to. So, like I said, to me, the interesting thing about Sentient, the interesting thing about playing Sentient is not the endings. It's not how the story turns out, though I was curious about that. But to me, it's more, how are you supposed to figure this out? How are you supposed to even play this game? And that's why I wanted to play it. That's really the main reason. I wanted to play it because I wanted to know how you're supposed to play it, how you're supposed to figure out to play it. And so I did. I figured out how to play it. It makes you work for it. It makes you fight for every inch of progress that you make, considering how slow you move, considering how little direction there is, and considering that if you take too much time, you fall into the sun and die. They make you work for every little bit of progress you make. But I'm happy in the end because I worked out how to actually play this game, how to actually get it to some semblance of understanding, and found a whole bunch of the endings without any assistance. And that makes me happy that I was able to tame the game, to work it out, and find these endings. And the rabbit picture. Remember the rabbit picture? We found that. So I think that means that I feel like I'm done with Sentient. I feel like I am done with it. I even worked out a lore-compliant explanation for Shatterjack. So that satisfies me as far as where Shatterjack is supposed to be. It's as feasible as any other explanation the game might have. So that's it. That's all. We're done with Sentient. This has been Sentient for the PlayStation 1, released by Psygnosis. It was also released on the PC. It's just a completely inscrutable game that defies you to play it. Oh, hello. Hello. It defies you to play it. So I wanted to defy it back and see what we could do. And I hope you had fun watching this thing. I hope you had fun watching this thing with me as we figured out whatever it was we could do. And like I said, maybe there are more secrets. Maybe I might continue to poke around at it. But this is the last stream. But who knows? Maybe I'll continue to poke around at it and see if anything else might happen. I doubt anything would. But who knows? This has been Sentient for the PlayStation 1. I'm glad that we found the soundtrack before we finished the game. I'm glad that, we found the soundtrack. We only used the soundtrack starting in the last stream. The last stream and this stream were the only ones that featured the game's soundtrack. So I'm glad that we found that missing soundtrack before we decided we were done with the game. This has been Sentient. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I think we can all say that this was indeed a brisk piece to Cobb.